However, unlike the 10 tribes of Israel, Judah holds on to its identity in captivity under a leader named Ezekiel, who is both a priest and a prophet. And this is a lot of heavy theological thinking occurs at this time. And this is really the beginning of Rabbinic Judaism. A theodicy was issued. This is a justification in the presence of evil of God's goodness, justice, and knowledge. How can an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good God allow evil? This is carefully thought over. In the process of this, another prophet named Isaiah, this is called Second Isaiah, he's the same name as the earlier royal prophet, he really begins to universalize Judaism. He says that God is the God of all people. Yes, he has a special covenant with the Israelites, but the Jews. But he's the God of all people. The Babylonian Empire was captured by Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Persian Empire. And he even writes that Cyrus, who's not a Jew, was an instrument of God. He was anointed. Cyrus was a Zoroastrian, which was a great world religion, the traditional religion of Persia until the arrival of Islam in the 7th century. Isaiah writes, "I will give you you being the Jews, as a light to the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the earth." So, interestingly, there's sort of a universalizing of Judaism going on here. Now, Cyrus he likes the Jews. He's much kinder than the Babylonians, and he allows some of the Jews to return to Jerusalem and to begin rebuilding the temple. They do so under the leadership of a man named Ezra, who is a scribe who read to the people. In the absence of sacrifice, you can't have sacrifices until there's a temple. Reading the scriptures to the people becomes a holy act. And this is probably when the canonization of the Bible probably began. God would speak now through a book as opposed to prophets. And this is referred to as the beginning of the Second Temple period, about 520 BCE to 70 CE. So another 500 years, the Second Temple is going to be rebuilt and be the heart of Judaism. Now, these Jews that were allowed to return, they're still part of the Persian Empire, and this marks the beginning of mostly a long period where Jews live under foreign rule. Persian Empire, Hellenistic Empire, Alexander and his successors, Parthian, new version of the Persian Empire, and the Roman Empire. Judaism probably absorbed some ideas from all of these. Probably absorbed some ideas from Zoroastrianism, the idea of Satan, hierarchies of angels, rewards and punishments in an afterlife, bodily resurrection on a judgment day. These things really didn't seem to be present in early Judaism. They're not mentioned in the early part of the Hebrew Bible. Greek ideas also left an imprint on Judaism. A bunch of Jews remained at Babylon. That would be an important center of Jewish thought for a long time after. And they also were going other places as the Mediterranean was becoming more globalized, you might think of it. And so Greek ideas, Greek was the refined language, the lingua franca of the Eastern Mediterranean. Greek ideas left an imprint. A Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures called the Septuagint was made for diaspora Jews who were dispersed away from Jerusalem. Many of them who could not easily read Hebrew. It was made in Egypt in 250 BCE. Now, there's only one temple, the temple in Jerusalem. So for diaspora Jews, they would get together at wherever they were, Rome, Babylon, wherever, in synagogues. It's from a Greek word for assembly. These synagogues emerge, and as long as there are 10 adult males present at one, they form a quorum called a minyan. Then they can pray and read together. Rabbis emerge. There are no rabbis, in the early part of the Old Testament, or anywhere in the Old Testament. They're priests. And there are no priests now in modern rabbinic Judaism because there's no temple, there are no sacrifices. So these rabbi means literally my master. They emerge. God speaks to the Torah, and someone, like these rabbis, must spend time studying and teaching it. An early rabbinical model was Hillel the Elder, who taught from about 30 BCE to 10 CE, and would have overlapped, therefore, Jesus. He was very famous, humble, pious, stressed loving relationships, good deeds, and charity. Also established a valuable set of rules for flexible interpretation of the Torah. How to apply law intended for an agricultural people in the age of Caesar. Rabbinic opinion would begin to grow and coalesce and try and wrestle with all of these issues. Now, there was a group of a family called the Maccabees. That's almost really a nickname. It means the hammers. It was really the Hasmon family, the Hasmonean dynasty, who were client kings of Israel. Of Judah, within part of the Hellenistic Empire, the successors to Alexander, and they revolted and established an independent state of Israel for the first time again, independent in 164 BCE, and it would remain independent for about 100 years until it was conquered by the Roman general Pompey Magnus, Pompey the Great, in 63 BCE. And at that point, Judah, they refer to as Judea, becomes part of the Roman Empire. And so the idea of the Messiah was important to diaspora Jews, somebody who would come later and unite Jews and make them free and usher in a period of justice. And for some, it was a purely spiritual concept, a utopian ideal. For some, it was a literal military leader who would reestablish the kingdom of David. This latter idea, and Jesus lived in the midst of these varying ideas about the Messiah. This latter idea of a military leader led to a rebellion in 66 CE, which was crushed, and the Romans said no more, and they destroyed the temple in 70 CE under the Emperor Titus. So the second temple was destroyed. So two temples, each lasting about 500 years or 1,000 years combined, finally destroyed, and there is no more temple. This is a very profound, traumatizing act for Judaism.